And once again, you're listening to the program, You and I on PSA, and we are here on the Street 91.9 FM, and it's hosted by the Public Services Association. We are here 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., Monday to Friday. I am Christopher Joe Field, the first Vice President. Good morning to the President of the PSA. Good morning to our executive officers and, of course, our trusted and reliable second Vice President.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to all our hard-working public officers out there. Good morning to the General Counsel and our JCC staff side reps. Good morning, folks.
As we would have indicated, and I want to keep driving home the point to all of us who need to be converted and who need to see what is happening in the public service and by extension, this country. There is a conspiracy to destroy the public service, and it is being done by weakening the institutions of the state that is charged with the management of the human resource in the public service. It is being done by weakening the service commissions, by underfunding them. It is being done by weakening the service commission, by having them without the appropriate staffing. They are weakening the service, their CPO's office, by not having the proper staffing or the amount of institutional memory that keeps the public service going. They are weakening all these institutions. The Ombudsman Office needs to understand that they have a bigger role, and to take up that role with the degree of maturity for which it was established in the first place. The permanent secretaries need to get on board and take charge of your ministries and look after the interest and welfare of the workers, and not have these HR managers manage the HR function by VAPs and adhocracy, but to be guided by the full regulations, because the breaking up of the public service, when the policymakers take a look at it and say, let us modernize the public service and bring in a different class of workers called contract workers, we open the door for all kinds of mischief and confusion, and the other C word will be called corruption. We have to be careful that they don't continue to not fill the vacancies and replace the establishment staffing of the public service with contract workers, because we have been downgraded twice in this in as many days. This country has lost its grading, and it is now even more critical that the public service do not contribute to Trinidad and Tobago becoming a failed state.
Folks, this is an interactive program, and we invite you to call in at any time and contribute towards the discussion using the following phone numbers: 622-9154, 622-3303, 631-0219, or 639-0791. You can also hook up with us on our Facebook page, PSA Trinbago, or email us at psa.tnt gmail.com.
Because, comrade, at the end of the day, we want the restoration of the respect for public officers and the public service and the status of public servants.
All these taxes, a lot of the taxes that they say new taxes they want to introduce is property tax and so on. But the problem, one of the problems in this country is the actual collection of these taxes, right? And without efficient, well-staffed and proper public service functioning to collect these taxes on behalf of the government and also monitor those persons who are trying to evade paying the tax.
That's correct.
Right? Without that functioning properly, you could introduce so much tax you want. It have some people pay none. Right? And it have others will have to be paying. And you know the old saying where Peter pay for Paul and Paul pay for all.
But you know, I am very concerned as to how that will affect persons who currently have mortgages with, let's say, TTMF. How will they be taxed? Because essentially, they don't own the property. While they are living there, they don't own it. It is owned by the mortgage finance company. How will a property tax be paid by these persons? We need to examine this property tax regime with a little more detail and clear up these areas of confusion. Because at the end of the day, we want a system that is fair, that is transparent, and that would reflect good governance. We have to build back out this public service and to put contract workers to perform those functions is to create a situation that we may not have the kind of control that is natural once they are guided by the regulations. Because a contract worker is almost a nomadic worker. He comes and goes and is sold to the highest bidder, as it were.
No, and not only that, comrade. Let's look at the contract worker. Most of them are young people. Leave secondary school, went to university, get degrees. Some of them have masters, and they're young. The ordinary human being, normal course of life, you would want to pay off, eventually get married, have children, start your own home.
They want to plan their lives, yes.
Plan a long term. You giving these young people these contract jobs. It used to be 3 years. It has reduced to 2 years, 1 year. It has reached a point now where you're getting 3-month contracts, and there's this new thing the government is calling month-to-month, where you have no sick leave, no vacation, nothing at all, and you could be on this month-to-month, don't know whether you'll be getting your salary next month. It has gone so bad that they're no longer even on the IRS system, they're paying them manually.
Comrade,
and
that
persons
is
getting paid a
naked.
month and a half after.
That is naked exploitation.
That's right.
The state is exploiting these workers. A place where you would think that if I am an employee of the state, I can be proud and I will have a head start in life to be able to really put my life on track. And you giving me a month-to-month contract?
Yeah. So and you see when persons in that type of vulnerable situation, where they don't know whether they'll have a job next month or not, anything anybody tell them to do, whether it's right or wrong, all they're interested in is keeping the job.
But I hear the people, I heard...
They put them in a very compromising position, and this is where the corruption does start.
I heard the PS said that they are modernizing the public service. How can bringing in insecure workers modernize the public service? How can bringing in persons with an arrangement that does not allow them to be guided by regulations that for time immemorial has protected the integrity of the public service, and have these workers be in a state where if they make some kind of a mistake in the course of their work, that they simply get replaced. And probably that is why we have so many persons at the highest level being brought back into the system on contract, because there is no institutional memory being created in the organizations. The service commissions continue to leave all the devolved functions unsupervised, unaudited, and not being reviewed. They have devolved their functions. They say, you PSs, take these functions and you manage the human resource in the organizations, in the ministries and departments, and they turn their backs.
Well, comrade, at that Joint Select Committee meeting yesterday, one of the things, and we have been highlighting it, that came up is the actual appraisal of the permanent secretaries themselves. Apparently there's nothing in place.
Nothing in place to appraise them.
Right.
They are a law unto themselves.
It's supposed to be the Service Commission. And I'm not speaking about the DPA and the support staff for the commission.
No.
The commissioners appointed by the president. They are the ones that's supposed to be taking these permanent secretaries to task on their performance, just like any other public officer. But it isn't happening. And it hasn't happened for a while in this country.
These service commissioners are sleeping on the job. I don't know what kind of behind the doors discussions that they are having, but certainly it is reflected in poor management of the public service.
No, I heard as well at that meeting that they say they only got $1 million, and that's the allocation.
Yes.
The government give them to carry out all the functions they're asking them to do. And give them just a little, it's woefully inadequate,
but
because they said just one exercise, the assessment of deputy permanent secretaries, clear out the entire vote.
But comrade, why would the government want to give them any more money if they don't have a plan? If they don't have a clear strategic plan that outlines how the Service Commission is going to ensure that the public service is managed for the next 5 to 7 years. And you're going to ask the government to give you money. The government must give you chick feed, because you have not articulated a plan that can be put under scrutiny to the extent that we can see Trinidad and Tobago benefiting in as complete a manner as expected. The ordinary citizen cannot feel it, because when they go to these institutions for service, they are meeting public civil servants who they have challenges of their own, which has arisen because of poor management.
So they're not giving them the money.
They're not giving them the money
because they have no plan. But what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Because when we look on the other hand now at places like the Zoological Society, the homes, these denominational schools, Blind Welfare Association, where the government is giving away large subventions
Yes.
to these organizations, right? And the subvention really is, the state would have realized that these organizations, the services that they offer is the government has a vested interest.
A vested interest.
Right? So the subvention really was that, okay, we would supply the workers and we would pay the workers salaries, right?
But we would also put the workers there to oversee the process. Because
Correct.
when it comes to finance,
Government monies, yes.
when it comes to government money, the government must be able to account to the citizenry for it.
And any money they give into any organization, they ought to be able to account for it in a particular way. And the best way to keep track of that is by having your public officers in place.
That is
You
correct.
understand? To make sure that the monies being allocated to these areas are being used for the particular purpose it was allocated for.
But you know what I find really strange, comrade, and which is a contradiction, is when I looked into this estimates document here.
Yes,
You talking about establishment positions that have been approved by cabinet for suppression. That cabinet approved the suppression of the curator of the zoo.
Yes, that was one position.
For
And also the accounting assistant, the clerk 4, and the stores attendant.
So that opens the door for a kind of reckless and runaway use of the money allocated to the zoo or the zoological society in a way that there is no accountability save and except from what is generated
from the persons that the institution put in place and not the government put in place.
From the books cookers, because they have replaced the accounting
officer.
Yes. And put 2 persons on contract for 3 years. Now, what is the logic? What is the logic in removing an established position that is going to have oversight for the monies that is given to the Zoological Society to manage the zoo for the citizenry to come in there and enjoy that which is there for the pleasure of the citizens? And whatever revenues are coming in there, and you take the established positions and you suppress them for a fixed period, and you allow the Zoological Society to hire
whoever they feel
with a view to those persons providing the relevant reports when the time comes. And it is going to be on contract, and yet you are paying those persons the monies just as if it was an established position that the funding is being given for.
Comrade, we're talking about a subvention of some 13.5 million.
No, it is not a subvention of some 13.5 million. You're misrepresenting the facts.
Lord, I have an estimate book in front of me here.
What book is that?
I don't lie. This is the draft estimates of expenditure of revenue and expenditure for statutory boards, similar bodies, and the Tobago House of Assembly.
Which is available for the public to see.
Looking at Board 11, Zoological Society of Trinidad and Tobago. And let me give you a small picture. Out of the 44 public officer positions that have here, appointed by the Statutory Authority Service Commission, they only have 10 working. No, sorry, 9.
9 of them.
Right?
9 of them are filled out.
Everything else is
on contract.
No,
they are empty.
I understand that they have some contract workers there now, but it's basically scab labor, understand, like as he called a call yesterday and say it's Guyanese and Jamaicans and Grenadians and things, and they have them doing, scab labor, right? And this is, and they only have 9 appointed positions of zookeeper ones, 9 zookeeper ones. The SCSC, right, appoint one of these officers to act in a higher position. And the Zoological Society take away the acting and say the Service Commission can say what they want. We pay them as a zookeeper one. You understand? And nobody doing anything about it.
That is the degree of arrogance being demonstrated by the board of the Zoological Society in this country. I wonder who gave them that kind of authority? Who gave them that kind of power? And my big question is, what is the permanent secretary?
No, but what they doing with the money, Joe?
What are they doing with the money?
The subvention. Where is it? Where is this? The rest of the money going?
Where are they going with the money? Where is the accountability? Where is the authority?
Why can't the state pay the workers like how they pay all the other officers? But what you have happening here is some concordat that the government must give them the money. But all these, and not these alone, all these homes, you understand? And the nominationals who the blind welfare, they just want the government to hand them the money, and they must do whatever the hell they want with it, right? And not account. But they come into Parliament with these draft estimates, and the government is telling the citizenry, look, you understand? We have these 44 positions in the zoo to pay salaries for, right? And this is what, according to this, about close to $4 million will be used for personal expenditure, which is the salaries of these employees, right? But out of the 44, you only have 9 working. Where the rest of money going?
Where the rest of money going? Where is the money that is allocated for establishment positions at the zoo?
And at the homes too, the same thing happening at St. Dominic's, the same thing happening at St. Mary's, St. Michael's.
Takarigwa home.
They stop hiring the GSC appointing people. Look, in St. Dominic's, where the Statutory Authority Service Commission appoint an acting manager in the absence of the manager who went on leave.
Who went on a sabbatical.
And the board at that St. Dominic's home tell the SCSC where to get off.
Yes.
And they put their own people in place and lock out the rest of the workers that the SCSC appoint.
And the statutory authorities put their tail between their legs and run in a hole and hide.
But they're not getting no support, because if I giving you government subvention, this is taxpayers' money, right? And it's supposed to have a particular agency to staff these homes, right? And to make sure that the monies and so on are spent as
in accordance with
what they are allocated for, right? And you telling my SCSC where to get off, then my funding have to stop.
Comrade, it should.
Right?
It should by right.
And this is where the government had to come and support the service commissions.
Yes.
You understand? But that ain't all, If you think that is only the SCSC, when we think the service commission, right? Public Service Commission, which is a constitutional body now.
Yes.
Right? I understand they appoint some economists twos. Persons get promoted from economist 1 to economist 2 in the Ministry of Finance. And when the ministry release them and they go across to the Ministry of Finance to take up their appointment, the permanent secretary and tell them, we don't want all they here. We're doing specialized work here. All they go back where they come from.
My
you understand?
goodness.
And the people can't get the increase in salary, the promotion from range 46, I think it is, all the way up to range 53 or somewhere there. And denying them, right? What is Service Commission doing about that? You promote somebody in this country, a public officer, an economist too, a senior position in public service at that. And when they reach there, the permanent secretary in finance will tell them, hello, you go back where you come from? Where this place come to?
And that is the problem. The permanent secretaries appear to be off on a frolic of their own, managing their ministries and departments as though it's their own parlor. Managing Trinidad and Tobago's public service as though it's that parlor that is on the corner of Irving Street in Sawa. It ain't no parlor there.
The flag blowing the breeze, brother. You understand?
The Service Commission has lost its legitimacy in this country. It seems to have now been just an entity on paper. We have to ask ourselves, how is that going to help Trinidad and Tobago in the face of the downgrade that we are seeing? We have a call on the line. Let's keep it constructive in your own interest. Good morning.
Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Comrades, you're speaking about the mismanagement of the homes.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if the managers are public officers and if disciplinary charges can be taken against them. Thank you.
Well, once they are appointed by the
Statutory authorities.
Service Commission, right, means that yes, they are
public officers,
and they ought to be following the regulations. And if they do anything wrong, they ought to be able to be brought
in accordance with the disciplinary procedures under the Statutory Authorities Service Commission.
But when they ignore the appointees, right, and they put their own people in place, they're not bound by any rules again, right? And the government funding that.
What is happening in this country? How is it that these homes can act as though they are a law unto themselves when they are receiving state funds to manage the affairs of the state in terms of the children, and they are disregarding the constitutional authority called the Statutory Authorities Service Commission and not having the appointments taken up by those persons appointed? What is going on in this country?
Yeah, they need to support especially the Statutory Authority Service Commission, because they are not a constitutional body, but the Public Service Commission. They are. So they need to be supported, because these monies, according to these concordats, the government have to give them the entire subvention. Right? They can't pay the salaries. They're blocking them from paying the salaries of the workers. So they're giving them the whole lump sum, and they're supposed to take that money and do what the government and the ministries went to Parliament and get passed, right?
And what is expected based on some kind of 5-year plan that articulates clearly where that money would be spent in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago. You have little children who the state has taken responsibility for because of whatever circumstances may have befallen the home. And the money is being used for purposes outside of what it was given for.
Yes, boy.
Trinidad and Tobago, the public service is being dismantled in an effort to allow for a kind of corruption to replace transparency, accountability, and good governance. It hurts to see that it is the churches that are involved in this, because the churches, i.e. the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church,
Presbyterian,
they ought to be held to a higher standard,
moral standard,
a higher moral standard, and ethics in order to ensure that we have citizens in this country that can consider themselves to be noble. But when it appears as though that kind of corruption is taking place,
have a caller.
We have a problem. Caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I agree with what you're saying regarding the corruption, because there is a particular government office on Frederick Street, just opposite the CIC school, where an AO2 was boasting that through his connections at the Service Commission's department, he was able to get himself and his friends appointed ahead of senior people, and they were also able to keep back people who they wanted to victimize. Payment for this resulted in the person's nephew being hired at that very division under the daily paid cadre. Further to that, I wanted to mention, is the PSA aware that government officers are being required to work without basic amenities like toilet paper, hand soap, water, potable drinking water? This is madness, and yet we still have to come here and function.
I hope Trinidad and Tobago is understanding the realities and the oppression, the silent oppression that public officers are being exposed to on a daily basis, you know. This is not the PSA saying it, you know. This is what is an employee of the state who have enough courage to come out and say what kind of abuse they are being subjected to, and don't feel that the head of the department, the accounting officer, is not aware of it, you know. They are fully aware, but there is corruption going on in the system.
No drinking water, brother. We be seeing money spending for all kind of nonsense in this place. No drinking water, no toilet paper, no soap.
We have to put up a resistance. The numbers to call: 622-9154. Tobago, 639-0791.
622-3303 and 631-0219.
You need to understand that we are not going to stand by idly and watch Trinidad and Tobago be downgraded by Standard & Poor's
and Moody's
in
the space of 1 week,
and just put our hands in our pockets or in another place, put our fingers somewhere else, and just let Trinidad and Tobago go down. Because there is a public service that is supposed to make all the strategic directions and plans work for the greater good, to be effected in such a way that the standard of living and the quality of life, notwithstanding what is happening worldwide, will not be we will not be deeply affected by it. But the standards in the public service needs to be revisited, and these agencies have to get off their butts and stop the nepotism, the disrespect of the regulations.
Comrade, this property tax, it have some persons who receive HDC homes that was heavily subsidized by the state, right? But ordinary public officers, get some of these houses for $180,000, $200,000 max, right? I am seeing these homes on some real estate sites selling for $1 point something million. That is the value of the home now, because the inflation in the real estate sector
Yes.
gone sky high.
Right.
So now, you get your home for a little $180,000. Now sitting down on something that valued at 1 point something million through no fault of yours. You understand?
On a public servant salary.
That is the rate.
Yes.
In the market.
Yes.
You know how to go and pay property tax on that with a public service salary.
But Comrade E, what compounds it is that most of these public officers who would have benefited by these homes through the HDC, if at all, don't own it. It is mortgaged to the mortgage company.
No, if you don't want to give you a raise and you implement this tax, call me around the table, let me talk. Let me exempt public officers from property tax. Something like a plan, eh?
Yes, we could see that.
We negotiate that. It's not all about money.
Because you're saying that they don't have money in the country. And now that we have this downgrade, it compounds the thing even more. It appears as though doom and gloom will be the order of the day in Trinidad and Tobago.
I clear, comrade. The problem with taxes in this country is the collection. They're not collecting all the taxes. They're collecting taxes from persons who...
Select few.
Yeah, who want to be on the right side of the law and thing. But I ain't gonna lie.
The majority...
That probably about 60% of the population. But it's about 40% of people ain't paying, they ain't paying the tax. And if even they paying the tax, they paying the wrong tax.
Yes.
You understand? So these monitoring agencies and of the state that they have so weak, you understand, and unable to collect the taxes. You know how much this country hemorrhaging taxes, and instead of you try to fix where it hemorrhaging, fix the leaks.
Now don't call it leaks no more. It's
you're
hemorrhaging.
Just looking for more tax.
It's serious hemorrhaging going on. The accountability and the transparency in the thing has been clogged. Good morning. Keep it constructive.
Good morning, after listening to you for a while, you know what comes to my mind? Anybody in this country who hate corruption as much as I do, from a child I hate it. I would like to see you hold such a high office in this country. I would not forget you and the comments that you make concerning corruption, because I hate it. It damages a good, wonderful, blessed country like Trinidad and Tobago, and it must be stopped by all costs. Thank you very much, sir.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We have another caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to mention that the receptionist, a young lady who worked as a receptionist at the Emperor Valley Zoo, was locked out for years. She went from SASE, a maintenance man from SASE, locked out by Mr. Gupti Lakshmidiyal, SASE workers. You understand?
Yes.
Terrible, terrible, terrible.
And the government sitting down there and just sending the subvention, man, send it up the road. And the workers they put in there to do the job. You understand?
Yes.
They're doing them what they want.
That is the kind of thing that is going on. We have another caller. Good morning.
Caller.
Hi, morning, gentlemen. I want to get an interesting program, but I want to get a gist of something. Now, you're raising some interesting topics. Like you said, something about the Service Commission Department, with those vacancies that are not filled, but the subvention or whatever the commission is entitled to. Does the government really send that money? And if the post are not filled, where the money goes, that's a good question.
Yes.
The other thing, now, there's a big branch between government involvement and commission involvement, because government can't involve in the Service Commission. They're responsible. Government is just a facilitator. So you have to explain that to me with the last example you gave, where the lady talked about somebody being locked out, but as you mentioned, the government in that context, what part would they play in employment in that particular area? And finally, I'm really trying to understand the question of what you talk about, somebody in an HDC house, value 180,000, and then because of developmental work, it reached $1 million, but you said you more align it to the property tax they pay. but you didn't align it to the person getting equity loans on such a property. But very, very good program. Let's discuss.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, comrade, thank you much. Let's see how we can expand on it.
The Service Commissions is the government organization that is put in place basically to make sure that the hiring practices of the state is fair and even to any citizen of the country, right? Because government are giving subventions to certain places like the Zoological Society, the Homes for the Children, Blind Welfare Association, the denominational schools and these things, right? They would, most of the subvention is to pay the salaries of these workers.
Of those workers that are appointed there to ensure that the organization's money runs, that the money that is paid to the organization, it is done.
There are workers in the accounts department as well as administrative workers as well as
managers.
Everything, including the heads, right? The managers of these homes are supposed to be appointed by the state. What is happening is that the boards of these places, right, through some concordat, has they work it out in such a way that the government can't pay the workers directly how they would pay the rest of the public service. But what they do is give them the entire lump sum, all right? And they're supposed to take that money now and pay the workers. And they have started now collecting that subvention and ignoring the SCSC, which is the hiring agency. So acting, they're ignoring acting when positions are to become vacant and they are to be filled. They're just not informing the commission that they are vacant, and they're just pulling in their own people from the outside and paying them whatever.
And might I add, whenever negotiations are done with the CPO and the PSA for the wider public service, those persons benefit from the salary increases.
And so the subvention increases as well.
Yes. We could go on, comrade, and I would want to really go into some more detail in terms of the questions that you have, but time is running out on us. We are here Mondays to Fridays from 8 to 9 a.m., and we will be able to treat with it.
But you can, we interact with us on the Facebook page, the PSA official Facebook page, PSA Trinidad, or email us at psa.tnt@gmail.com. You can send in your questions and so on, so that we would know what topics you all want us to discuss and elaborate on, right?
I don't ever want us to feel for 1 minute that this is about bashing any one entity. Yeah? The role of the PSA, which is enshrined in the Act, is to ensure that the conscience of the organization called the public service deals an even hand to all the workers of the public service who are monthly paid, and to ensure that what the government or what the policy makers say they are going to do, that they do it. And those agencies that they give the funding to, that it is followed through with the degree of fullness that is expected. This is the Public Services Association. We are on UNI on PSA, the Street 91.9 FM.
And we are here Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And we are going to be here continuing to put up a resistance.
We are saying you continue to stay tuned, be informed, because Trinidad and Tobago had moved away from the state of darkness, as it were, and ignorance, to a level of literacy and informed, a state of being informed that those people that we elect to run our business on a 5-year contract, that they do what they're supposed to do, and the supervision must take place. You have a good day. Good morning.